All right, everybody, welcome in to kick off the tip-off for the BYU West Virginia prediction, kicking off at 10:30 Friday night Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to drink your coffee a little bit later in the day, maybe two coffees, Noah, maybe like a 6:30 after dinner espresso or something like that. We'll definitely be staying up, and that's kind of the overall idea of this game, I think. Let us watch and break it down, and the people, don't stay up because this could get ugly or it could stay competitive, Noah. That's kind of the two ways that we've solved things. But of course, before we start anything today, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We have the giveaway at 500 subscribers for the three items. We're getting super close. I think we only need about 80 more subscribers. And then we're going to start this episode with the breaking news that kind of came out today about Nico hitting the transfer portal, Noah. So we obviously kind of want to say some things positive. I saw a lot of kind of feedback and stuff on Twitter, some good, some bad. So I'll kind of let you start. We give kind of our thanks to Nico.
Yeah, I mean, Nico was everything you wanted as in a Mountaineer. As an athlete, as an athlete in the department, feel like he represented. We always talked about how well spoken he was in press conferences. Seemed like he embodied what it was to be a Mountaineer, no matter what, rain or shine. And then speaks a lot about his character to kind of stick around while Rich Rod, is announced that he's going to be hired as the head coach. They speak on, it seemed like they spoke a little bit. He decides to stay. Thought it. We didn't know how he would fit in the system, but you and I both are believers that whatever school he decides to go to, I hope it is a pass-first offense where he can sit back there and be a pocket passer, because I think he will be very, very successful in a situation like that. But kind of speak more on this. As much as we loved him as a player, 2-0 against Pitt, just as a character, a character in the program. I don't think you can ask for much more from a player. Additionally, just like him sticking around, and he had a lot to do with trying to get these other recruits in, because as much as a coach recruits guys, players are almost just as like beneficial in the recruiting process of making these guys feel at home, or getting them to buy into a culture. Unfortunately this year we don't know how much has been bought into yet. We think they're getting there, slowly but surely. We hope they get there. But yeah, just shout out to Nico and everything he's did for the program. I think no matter what, he will always sing Sweet Caroline with a little Eat Shit Pitt in there. We've probably changed his tradition on that song forever, as he's kind of changed, the program in itself. I kind of kick it back to you with Gage, but I just love the guy. Glad he's going to go on and maybe find a little bit of a better fit for his next home.
Yeah, and it was official a medical red shirt, so we do want to point that out. It's not like he's just shutting it down like we see some college players right now. Team kind of shit hits the fan and they just shut it down and move on to next year. This was a medical red shirt for the foot. And yeah, no, kind of like you said, I agree. He had a very professional demeanor. His interviews and stuff, everything that I heard and got to kind of watch outside of the football field, off the field stuff, just a very professional kid, very professional athlete, in my opinion. The way he speaks about his teammates, coaching staff, everything, has that full kind of quarterback mentality. Seemed like a lot of the times when asked about certain things, it was his fault when maybe it wasn't, right? Poor O-line play, wide receiver drop, something like that. It's my fault, right? I got to be better. So yeah, man, it's one of those things where you just kind of tip your cap, right? He sticks around. It maybe, like you said, wasn't necessarily the greatest scheme fit for him. So maybe as we get some clarity on the transfer portal heading into next year, maybe we'll do a video or something kind of exploring options that, maybe you and I think fit best, because there's definitely a school that can use a lefty that slings it like him. He can definitely throw the ball around. So wish the best for him, of course. So transitioning to the game, Noah, BYU, in some ways, off the top of my head, this is kind of what I think. In ways, they are very similar to Utah, except they lack the playmaker at the quarterback position, okay? Dampier, to me, was kind of showed why, not that he's a dark horse Heisman candidate now, but before the season started, he was kind of one of those guys where his name was like getting sprinkled around in that conversation. And if that's, what he looked like against West Virginia, that's what they've expected this entire, versus Texas Tech, where he was injured a little bit. That's what they expected. With BYU, we can start at the quarterback position. You are not going to get that level of playmaking, in my opinion, from the quarterback position. Bear, Bachmeier, and West Virginia fans that do stay up and watch this game are going to want to be throwing up watching a quarterback wear number 47 run around the field Friday night. It is absolutely disgusting. And hopefully, I don't even know off the top of my head if they're turf or grass, but hopefully we have so many sacks if it's grass that the number is just covered up. It's just green. You can't even see it. But here's my takeaway for Bear Bachmeier. First off, you have to take away LJ Martin, the running back, and we'll kind of get to him in a second. But if you can neutralize the run game and force the BYU kind of offensive coordinator and Bear Bachmeier to beat you, you have a chance to keep this game competitive. West Virginia at this point in time right now doesn't have our trust or the fan base's trust for us to sit here and say, these are the things that they need to do to win the game, if that makes sense. What we have to do right now is these are the things that they have to do to keep the game close. And if you keep the game close, especially we see this 20-point underdogs, 17-point underdogs, some crazy shit will happen. That's college football in a nutshell, right? So right now, the keys to this, keeping it close, starts with limiting and neutralizing that run game and forcing Bear Bachmeier to beat you. Because I don't think he can go off script and beat somebody. We kind of saw Colorado really neutralize him last week until they started leaving some holes open for him to kind of throw the ball around, get the ball to his playmakers on the outside. So overall, a takeaway from Bear Bachmeier, what can fans kind of expect to see from the quarterback position from BYU Friday?
Yeah, Gage. Watching Bear and his tape, what an awesome name. Let's be honest with you, Bear Bachmeier. That's phenomenal. Love hearing a name like that in college football. There's so many good ones out there, but this is definitely a good one. Gage, whenever you look at number 47 rolling around the field on Friday night, I think the thing to realize and how West Virginia can be successful against him is, like you said, take away the easy things. Take away second and short, third and short. Take that away from him. Make him be a playmaker. He's not like Dampier and he's not like Navarro, either one of those quarterbacks. The difference from him, I don't think he's as agile as either of those guys, or even Jalen Daniels. He doesn't move as well. He's not as shifty as all three of those guys. He doesn't move that light on his feet, but what he will do, he's more of like a Tim Tebow runner, in my opinion, not comparing him to Tim Tebow at all, because no, that's miles beyond him. But he definitely will put his shoulder down for the first down. He's more of a physical runner. And I think that's where if West Virginia can, sustain, keeping him behind the sticks, keeping them off schedule, like you said, you're going to put him in situations where he has to be a true quarterback. And I don't know if he loves doing that, right? He's kind of, you come out with number 47 on what, are you truly that quarterback, that sets back in the pocket, makes the pass? He's not. But here's the thing, though, too. We have struggled with quarterbacks that can get out of the pocket and make things happen. So that's very stressful on a defense. And, Zach Alley is just, hoping. And, that's kind of the architect for a college quarterback now. Somebody who's mobile, can get out of pocket. But I know Zach Alley himself is thinking, oh my gosh, when are we going to get a guy that just wants to set back there and, set in that pocket and throw the football so I can, draw up 5 different blitzes that will make his life hell, instead of thinking, man, even if we get to this guy, we've got to contain him in the pocket because, he does have a little bit of playmaking ability with his feet, Gage. So like you said, keeping them off balance. Don't let them have easy little dump offs where these skilled guys can, make him look really good. Not that he's a bad quarterback. They don't turn the ball over. I think he's only been sacked 4 times on the year, Gage. And they've put up some pretty good, numbers offensively, statistically. But when you look at it, I don't know about the caliber of defenses they've played in Portland State. Stanford, you and I have watched them. We're not too impressed with Stanford. East Carolina, which I think was one of probably the better teams. Them in Colorado are where you're kind of getting it, and they only scored 24 points against Colorado. And Colorado kind of had a couple chances in that game to kind of knock them out, punch out, and they just didn't do it, Gage. So like you said, keep them off track. Make him beat you, right? And I don't think they'll feel comfortable that way. And I know us as a team would feel more comfortable by saying, okay, if Bear Bachmeier beats us, he beats us, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know what he looks like yet without a firm run game with LJ Martin. And that's where I'm like, things could get interesting if we can neutralize the run, because we all know what you're going to get with LJ Martin. This is one of the best running backs in the Big 12. And I truly mean that when I say it. Currently right now, LJ Martin is averaging right around, I believe it was like 7 7.5 yards per carry, 7.8 or something like that, 400 yards on the season, 1 touchdown, 7.3 yards per carry. This guy's a bruiser, man. Not only is he a bruiser, he has a little bit of finesse in his game. He's able to put his foot in the ground, make a cut, and just kind of get by you, as simple as that. He makes it look very, very easy running the ball. And you will be able to tell from the jump BYU wants to establish the run. That's where I say they're kind of similar with Utah in terms of they want to establish, hey, we're going to be the more physical team than you right from the jump. Both offensive line specifically, running the ball, things like that, and then defense, where their kind of MO is just, hey, you're going to have to earn every single yard against us, which has been pretty hard for us as an offense here the past couple of weeks in general. So, outside of LJ Martin and Bear Bachmeier, couple guys on the outside that you're going to be seeing catching passes. Chase Roberts, 16 catches, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns. Carson Ryan, the tight end, 192 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Parker Kingston, the other wide receiver, 105 yards on the year, no touchdowns. So kind of what we said, even with a softer schedule, statistic-wise, and they don't always tell the story, nothing really glaring in the pass game, in my opinion. You beat Portland State 69-0, Stanford 27-3, ECU 34-13, and then, of course, the kind of ugly, grinded-out win versus Colorado. And this is kind of where I was talking about in our last video. Is this potentially BYU's get-right spot, right? That's kind of what it looked like with Utah last week, and that's what we have to avoid is those, like you said, the early kind of completions, momentum, 7 points. They go out, score a touchdown, we go 3 and out, and then it's 14-0, and we're not even, halfway through the first quarter. That's kind of where we've got ourselves in trouble these past few games versus Kansas and Utah. So before we get into the game kind of preview, once again, we're battling injuries, right? Ty Edwards questionable. I had saw Jalen Henderson was banged up. We still don't have a confirmed starter for Saturday. We would imagine that it's Khalil. I don't know. Does Scotty get back into the mix? It's just hard to tell who's going to be playing quarterback for us this Saturday. And there will probably be multiple people, that's for sure. Offensively, Noah, how do we get it going? I mean, that's kind of the question. You're not going to be in any competitive games if your offense is averaging, 2.5 yards per carry and you're going 3 and out on 75% of your drives.
Gage, it's as simple as we need a spark. And I don't know if it's going to be from Dior Hubbard, if Ty Edwards comes back, if we start Khalil, if it's going to be him. But we need something, right? And this isn't to sit here and say Rich Rod doesn't know anything offensively, because that's been proven time in and time out. People can disagree with his tactics and how he runs runs the ship. But he knows how to run an offense, right? Somebody's not, capitalizing, whether it be offensive line or the back's not hitting a hole. One way or the other, something's not clicking, right? So all it needs is to click a few times and some guys get some confidence lit behind them. I think that's what you've seen kind of on that last drive or the last few drives against Pitt, where guys got a little bit of confidence. There was a hole that opened up. A running back scampers for, 15, 20 yards. Ty Edwards gets a good push. And then the offensive line starts believing, hey, we can move these guys. We can do that. I know it seems kind of like as if Rich Rod's playing, he doesn't want to turn the ball over. He doesn't want to put the ball in harm's way. And I kind of understand that, because like you just said, we have gotten ourselves into holes. We're down 2 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns. And unfortunately, we don't have a guy this year that can single-handedly bring you back into the game, right? So he's playing very conservative football in the same sense as what you said earlier in the video. If you can keep a college football game close, and that's when the stuff starts happening, right? If you can keep it within that 7-10 point striking distance, he's said it many times, the longer the game lasts, the better chance we have, because he thinks they're in better shape. And I still think that's probably very much in the case. Obviously, we've had some injuries here and there, but if we can just get a little spark from somebody, maybe it's Khalil, maybe Henderson's healthy, and he starts the game, and just from the beginning, they really did struggle keeping Caden Salter in the pocket and keeping him, kind of contained. So I think that's a, now that Nico is kind of out of question to play, right? All of our quarterbacks are pretty mobile. You got Henderson, Khalil, Scotty, Chase Brown. All of these quarterbacks are mobile quarterbacks that can get out of the pocket and kind of create. So I think if those guys can, make a couple plays that are, maybe a little bit jaw-dropping BYU, like, oh shit, we've got to come to play. This isn't going to be a cakewalk. I think that's where you can get them on their heels and you get a little bit of confidence, because I think offensively, as much as, we're not executing, we might not be doing this right, we aren't hitting the easy plays. I think most of it all stems from there's no confidence because we haven't moved the ball. And, 2 straight games, Gates, we've really struggled to move the ball in any way, shape, or form. And when you're not getting first downs, then the defense is on their heels. Like we said, defense performed, the worst they have in that game against Utah. But, offensively, if you can't move the football and you're putting these guys on the field again and again and again, that's kind of a offensive issue, in my opinion.
Yeah, to put in perspective how bad our offense has been, our leading rusher right now is actually Jalen Henderson with 146 yards as our leading rusher on 29 carries. 70-something of those yards coming in that, kind of 1 or 2 drives he had versus Kansas. It hasn't been pretty at all. There's been nothing that's been clicking and nothing to make us fans kind of optimistic about any sort of upset brewing. And it doesn't get any easier, Noah. This BYU defense is pretty good, right? Yards per game.
Fourth in the country.
Yeah, fourth in, yards per game, 226, only allowing 126 passing yards, 76 rushing yards, and averaging, only allowing 9 points per game, fourth in the country, like you mentioned. Of course, take some of that with a grain of salt because of the schedule that we kind of mentioned they played so far. And, Colorado was able to kind of produce a little bit, some points and a spark on offense, but they just have playmakers that we don't. I mean, it's as simple as that. They have more things figured out on the offensive side of the ball. So with all that being said, it's like we just, we've been talking about the actual game prediction for probably about, 10 minutes here. I don't feel good about this one. No, I know you kind of have a little bit more of a optimistic outlook than I do. But still, right now where we're at in current state of West Virginia football, and not to spoil your kind of score prediction or anything, your optimistic outlook is us only losing by 14, right? We kind of look at things in a tunnel vision with, sports books, spreads, things like that. Currently sitting at 18.5, it came down from 20.5. Could I see a world where they keep this a two-possession game? Yes, but it relies so heavily on that defense stopping L.J. Martin, stopping the run game, and forcing Bear Bachmeier to put up 28, 35 points on you. I like our chances to keep the game close if that's the case. Me, on the other hand, I'm going to be super realistic as somebody who put, 100 and whatever it was on Utah minus 12.5 last week. I would feel pretty good laying the points here with BYU. I just there's nothing in this offense that's happening right now that makes me think that things are just going to click like that away. You lose basically a day because of travel, Friday night under the lights. I'm not feeling good about this. NFL, in my opinion, it's much easier as a team week to week to go. Like we just saw Panthers last week, right? They got blown out by the Patriots. They play the Dolphins this week at home. I would go ahead and I feel pretty good saying the Panthers are going to win that game, all right? But it's not that easy in college. And I'm getting at that is when you are bad week to week, it just simply kind of stays like that. It's very hard unless it's kind of SEC, Big Ten caliber football, really proven programs to bounce back from just these losses that we've been taking. They've been demoralizing, right? And it's just me being realistic, man. I mean, I'll shoot my score prediction right now. I would say it's probably BYU 35, West Virginia 10. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with things. Like, if we score a touchdown late in the game, I don't know. No, I'm not very optimistic right now. It hasn't been fun to watch yet. We are still watching it. I don't think we're going to be able to pass on them. I don't think we're going to be able to run the ball efficiently. If Ty Edwards plays, my outlook changes a little bit because we'll have success in the run game simply because he's playing and running the ball. But I don't know, man. I'm not feeling very good. And I think the way Rich Rod, his voice and everything, his tone, the way he's been talking about it, I just don't like where we're at right now. So that's kind of my score prediction, final takeaways.
Yeah, I don't blame you all for that prediction, Gage. And as you kind of said there, I'm not going to sit here and predict a win for the Mountaineers this Friday night. It's unfortunate, where we're at right now. The only way to look at this positively is it can only get better, right? Because we are pretty low, right? There are a lot of things that need to come together. But like you said, after these two demoralizing losses where you don't feel like you were really in the game for more than a quarter against Utah and Kansas. What you really need here, Gage, and my score prediction, I'll kind of roll it out here, would be a 2-touchdown loss, 14 to 10 point loss against BYU, who's a pretty solid team, right? I don't think BYU's a pushover by any means. I just think that there are a lot of questions offensively for them that haven't been exposed
100%.
because they've played weaker competition. I don't think Bear's a bad quarterback, but I think this, in the past, I'd say even Navarro was probably better than, I would say he's probably better than, or at least equal to what Holstein was. We've played 3 better quarterbacks than Bear Bachmeier this year.
Yeah, I would take Navarro. I would take Holstein, Dampier, Daniels for sure. Yeah, I'd take all of them over him.
So when you look at that and what Zach Alley has been able to do defensively outside of last week, I think Kansas, he even called a pretty decent game against Kansas when they were just on the field way too much. I think he's going to be able to keep this one close defensively. Hope to see a spark, offensively. And if there is a spark, if Ty Edwards plays, it takes my line from, I think 27 to 13 would be my score prediction as of right now. It would take it probably into 23-16 territory, Gage, maybe a touchdown game, because I believe Ty Edwards is going to be able to produce some first downs, and that lets the defense kind of rejuvenate. I'm giving BYU probably 2 touchdowns right now because I don't think offensively we get anything rolling and our defense is on the field a lot again. Hope Khalil or whoever decides to play quarterback for us this week, whoever Rich Rod decides to point out and throw out there this week, like you always point out there, I hope they have some success and we're able to sustain some drives and we get some confidence brewing. But right now, where we're at, realistically talking, 27-13 in BYU's favor. But I think that would be a little bit of a victory in the sense that you feel like you were in a game, right? Like
on the road,
over before it was over.
On the road, ranked team. I agree. I think that's a good outlook, and you kind of have to come away with a win as a fan base if that's the case, right? If you lose this game by a touchdown, that's a win in our book. I mean, it's a loss, but at least it's something to somewhat build off of. It's just this has been pretty. This is testing this fan base, that's for sure. I know a lot of people have kind of given up, which. I don't want to say rightfully so, but I completely understand. It's just like it's repeatedly getting punched in the face by Mike Tyson.
Gage, kind of want to hit on this. When we started this little channel, we started talking WVU sports. It was really nice. We were like, kind of you had the prep up into the season, and it was all good. And I don't think people realize kind of how hard it is to get on here. We're diehard Mountaineer fans to sit here and talk, in the sense of, I don't know what chance we have this week. It is demoralizing to sit here. I thought about this after the Kansas game. Man, I'm upset about the game. We lost the game. We got blown out. And now I've got to get on this channel and talk poorly about, my home state, my university, the guys I go to bat for every day. I've got to go talk about what they did wrong or what I think went wrong. It's hard to do.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part. It's like the conversations that we're having and posting, it's just stuff that you usually just say it on the couch when you're watching the football game or something like that. It's not something that you want to come out and publicly be like, yep, we're ass. We can't score. This team's terrible. 50 of these players should be playing for Tarleton State or Furman. Shout out Furman Paladins. Like, that's the way it feels right now. But, like you said, it's just like we're still smiling. Sun's going to come up tomorrow. Sun's going to come up Friday. And we're going to watch West Virginia football at BYU. And if they win, we're going to burn your couch. I mean, it's as simple as that. That's for sure. But like I said, I think it's very important if you keep this game close, right? If you keep this a touchdown, you walk out of there only losing by 7, a hard-fought game or something like that, and build major momentum heading into UCF next week. I'm not saying by any means that that's going to be an easy game either away in Orlando, but I think you have a fighting chance, especially if you get some certains at quarterback. You get some clarity around what the running back room is going to look like. I haven't even mentioned I really think that Ty Edwards is going to kind of follow suit with Nico because it's just, I don't really know if there's a point for him to waste this year, especially if he's trying to go to the league or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of uncertainty. It's just welcome to
Interested to
West
see
Virginia.
offensive line this week, Gage. Interested
Yeah.
to see offensive line. Are we making changes? Are there going to be different guys out there? I think there will be. And we're going to see some things shaken up because I think it's time to, go away from what you've been trying and try something, completely new. Who cares if there's 5 new faces everywhere offensively? If there is, so be it. Let's see what we got.
You're right, man. As we end it, I think it's only right to end it one way. Rich Rod said it best. God bless the Mountaineers, man.
God bless the Mountaineers.
God bless the Mountaineers.